There was once a man named Kenshiro, a samurai born not in a castle, not in glory, but in silence. He came from a small village nestled between mist-covered mountains, where the air smelled of rain and pine, and every sunrise carried the promise of discipline. From a young age, Kenshiro was taught that a sword was not meant to kill, it was meant to protect. His master, an old warrior with scars deeper than time itself, would often tell him, "The sword is a mirror, Kenshiro. It reflects the soul of the one who holds it. If your heart trembles, the blade will break." Those words shaped his life. Every morning, before the first bird sang, Kenshiro would kneel by the river. The cold water bit at his skin, the fog wrapped around him like an old friend. He would close his eyes, breathe deeply, and begin to sharpen his blade not for battle, but for balance, to still his mind, to remind himself that even steel must be patient before it cuts. He believed that true strength wasn't in how fast one could draw their sword, but how long one could resist drawing it at all. And so, while others chased war and honor, Kenshiro chose peace. He spent years protecting his village, training young warriors, and meditating beneath the ancient cherry blossom tree that overlooked the valley. But peace, as the old saying goes, is only the pause between storms. One night, as the moon hung heavy in the sky, a shadow crept into the valley. A band of mercenaries, men without honor, serving a warlord hungry for land and power. They came in silence at first. Then came the screams. Then came the fire. Kenshiro woke to chaos, flames devouring homes, the sound of steel cutting through the night. He could have run. He could have hidden. But the way of the samurai is not to flee from fear. It's to face it with calm. He wrapped his armor, tied his headband, and stepped out into the storm. His eyes were steady, not angry, not afraid, just clear. He stood before his village and whispered a single word to himself, "Honor." Then he drew his blade. The first clash of steel echoed through the valley like thunder. Kenshiro moved like water flowing, adapting, precise. Every strike had meaning, every breath control. He did not fight for glory. He fought for his people, for the children who hid beneath the floors, for the mothers who prayed in the dark. The battle raged until the stars began to fade. The flames dimmed, and only the sound of his breath remained. When dawn broke, the mercenaries were gone, their ambition buried beneath the soil they tried to claim. But Kenshiro was still, his armor torn, his body scarred, blood staining the earth beneath his feet. He knelt beside the river, just as he had every morning. The water carried away the ashes and blood as if to cleanse the world of what had passed. He placed his sword into the ground and stared at his reflection in the blade, the same blade that had seen peace and war, calm and chaos, life and death. And then he smiled faintly, because in that reflection he saw not a killer, but a protector. He finally understood what his master had meant, that the true purpose of a warrior is not destruction, but preservation. As the sun rose over the valley, Kenshiro closed his eyes and took one final breath. Some say he passed away peacefully there by the river, his spirit merging with the morning mist. Others believe he still walks the mountains, watching over travelers who lose their way. But one thing remains certain: his legacy lived on. The villagers rebuilt their homes, told his story to their children, and carried his teachings forward. They learned that honor is not found in power, but in restraint. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the calm to face it. And even centuries later, when the wind sweeps through that valley, the leaves seem to whisper his name, Kenshiro, because the spirit of a true samurai never dies. It simply becomes part of the